graders, we're on to more division of decimals today, and there are a couple really important concepts that I want to make sure that you get today. So listen really closely. They're not hard, but if you miss it, it will really impact your ability to do this successfully. So listen really closely today on this. We are in lesson 118, the next one after what we did yesterday, so we're moving on to the next lesson in the book, 118, and that starts on page 773. So turn to page 773. You'll notice that the title of that lesson says More on Dividing Decimal Numbers. So yesterday we started the basics of dividing with decimals, and probably the biggest thing that you learned was to, in the answer, move the decimal up from the dividend up to the answer line and just put it straight above it, okay? So today we are going to be continuing learning a little bit more, a few more steps in division of decimals. You should also have the worksheet that says Reteaching 118, Reteaching 118. And this is the one I'm gonna actually be showing you using some of the problems on here is the examples so that those are done for you, so they're not ones you have to do on your own, okay? So let's take a look at the first problem. This time, all these problems are gonna give you today are not written out with a little division box, okay? You're gonna have to write that yourself. So we're gonna look at number 1 on the reteaching page. You're gonna need to have your own division box. They made one for you on here. I honestly don't know if there's enough space for you to write under that. You'll have to write tiny, or you can write it off to the side or on the back, okay? So you need your little division box, and we need to put the number that's being divided up, that's the dividend, okay? We need to put that inside the division box. So this is a place where a lot of people can get confused. If you just read the number, the problem, it'll help you. It says 8/10 divided by 5. Do you see in numbers, that's what it's saying? The 8/10 comes first. So that's the number that's getting divided. 8/10 divided by 5. That means that the 8/10 is the part inside the little division box. Divided by 5. This is the outside number here, the divisor, is the one that we're dividing it into that many size pieces. Does that make sense? So it's 8/10 divided by 5. Make sure you double check that you've written that part of your problems correctly, okay? Now, first thing we do is gonna be just like yesterday, move that decimal point up into your answer, okay? So I'm just gonna move it up there to start with. All right, let's divide, and as we go along, you're gonna see what the new concept we have to add on to this is today. 5 goes into 0 how many times? Can't do it, so 0 times. All right, so 0 times 5 is 0. Okay. Well, actually, you know what? We don't have to write that part. Silly me. Let's just keep moving. We don't have to put that step in there. 5 goes into 0 0 times. Now let's go. 5 goes into 8 how many times? 1 time, right? So we'll put our 1 there. 1 times 5 is 5. We're going to subtract. Oh, and look at, we have a remainder. That's the difference between today's problems and yesterday's problems. Do you remember yesterday's you got no remainders? They strategically picked problems that wouldn't have remainders. Today's problems will. Here's the thing that you have to know about when you're dividing decimals and you have remainders. You are not allowed just to write R3, remainder 3 up there. What you do is you add a 0 onto the end, because do you remember on a decimal number, if you add a 0, it doesn't really change the value of that number. We have 8/10 or 80/100, same size piece. So you add a 0, move it down here, put the 0 here. Now 5 goes into 30. Will it go into 30? Absolutely, and it goes in evenly. Yay! So 5 goes into 30. How many times? 6 times. Okay, so 5 times 6 is indeed 30. We subtract. Now we have 0 remainder, so we're done. So our answer to number 1 is 16/100, 0.16. Okay, let's do another one. We'll do the next one on your worksheet. All right, number 2. You're gonna get this. It's just a little bit new, but it's gonna be fine. Let's make our division box. There it is. All right, we have to figure out which number's going inside and which goes outside. I just read it out loud to myself. 1400ths divided by 4. Ooh, so that means the 1400ths divided by, the 4 is on the outside, right there. 1400ths divided by 4. Okay, here we go. Let's divide. Oh, no, we're not going to divide yet. We're going to move our decimal up. So move that decimal right there in your answer before we forget. Okay, 4 goes into 0 how many times? 0 times. 4 goes into 1 how many times? 0 times, because you can't fit 4 into a 1. So that's going to be a 0 also. Here we keep going. 4 goes into 14 how many times? Ooh, that one we can do. So 4 into 14 goes how many times? 3, because 3 times 4 is 12. Now I can subtract. 14 minus 12 is going to be 2. I've got a remainder. Here's where we have to do our adding the 0 trick, because we've got to keep going on this till we have no remainder. So I'm going to add a 0 here. I'm going to move it down, put it there. 4 goes into 20. Evenly, way, yay, yay, yay. It's not going to leave a remainder. So 4 goes into 20 5 times, because 5 times 4 is 20. We subtract and have no remainder. We're done. So the answer is 35 thousandths, 0.035. Does that make sense to you? Okay, let's do one more just to make sure. We'll do number 3. I'll do it right here. It says number 3 on the worksheet, okay? We'll make our division box. I'm going to read this problem to myself. It says 2/10 divided by 2. So the 2/10 has to go inside, divided by 2. 2 is on the outside. All right, let's put our decimal up on the answer line. That's the first thing we're going to do. Decimal. Okay, let's divide. Will 2 go into 0? 0. Will 2 go into 2? Ooh, it will. Evenly this time. 2 goes into 2 1 times. 1 times 2 is 2. We subtract. Hey, we have a 0 remainder, so we don't have to add any zeros into the dividend up here and move it down. We're good. So the answer is 1/10. All right? All right, that is the first concept that you are doing for this lesson. And you have 3 more problems on your worksheet here, number 4, 5, and 6, that'll be like that. And then in your lesson practice, you have 12 problems there like that. Remember to add the zeros like we did on these till we get 0 remainders at the bottom of the problem, okay? Now, there's a second concept that they have in this lesson. You're gonna love it because all you're doing is moving a decimal point over. If you look at the bottom of the worksheet or the second half of the lesson practice, J through R, that is the second thing we're looking at here. Let me erase this and then I'll show you, okay? What it is, do you remember when we did multiplication of numbers, of decimal numbers by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, we moved the decimal over to the right? Do you remember that? Let's say that we had 10 times 2.4. We said, ooh, there's 1 0 here. We move once over to the right, and there it is. So the answer would be 24. Okay, do you remember that? Okay, I'm going to put a box around that. That's totally separate, but it's related because the second part of your lesson today is dividing, doing the same thing. Guess what? All you do is move the decimal the other direction. So let's say we had 2.4, my same thing here, divided by 10. Instead of moving that decimal point over 1 to the right, I move it 1 to the left. So the answer would be 24 because I would go, oh, 1 0 and a 10, so I'm gonna move to the left 1. So, oh, I put the wrong answer down, silly me. Okay, let me erase this. Not 24, I went the wrong way. This is why we need to write things out. It's 0.24, 24 hundredths. My answer to the multiplication one was 24. The division one, it gets smaller because when we divide, we have smaller pieces. So 2.4 divided by 10 is 0.24. Okay, so let's take a look at your worksheet. We're going to do the 3 that are on here together. Then you have 9 of them in your book to do on your own. All you do is move the decimal point over to the left. It's going to be super easy for you. Okay, so let's look at number 7 here. Number 7. We have 25 divided by 100. Okay, so let's count how many zeros there are. There are 2. Where would the decimal be in a plain 25? It's right there at the end of it. So we need to move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2. So there's where the new decimal point will be. So the answer is, I gotta put a 0 in the whole number spot because there's nothing there. 0.25, 25 hundredths. Okay? Let's do number 8. Number 8, this is on the worksheet, is 12 hundredths divided by 10. Okay, 12 hundredths divided by 10. How many zeros are in this tens number? Just 1. So we're going to just move our decimal 1 place to the left. Right there. Remember, we're always with division going to the left. So the answer is going to be, you can see where I moved that over 1. So the answer is 0.012. See, I moved it this way, and I have to put a 0 out here before the decimal to show that there's no whole number. So the answer is 12 thousandths. Okay? All right, last one we're going to do together. Number 9 on the worksheet. It's 45 divided by 1,000. Okay, 45 divided by 1,000. All right, I have to think, when it's a plain 45, where would the decimal be? I don't need to have it in there, but now that I'm multiplying by, let me say that again. Now that I'm dividing, I need to know where my decimal is. So it would go right there at the end of the number, right? So how many zeros out here in this tens number? 1, 2, 3. So I have to move my decimal 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. Notice I'm moving it through the air out here. There's nothing here. I'm going to have to fill in a 0. And remember, I put the 0 in before the decimal as well to show that there's nothing in the whole numbers place. So just move it 3 spaces to the left, 3 place values to the left. So the answer is 0.045. Okay? All right, we have done almost all of your reteaching worksheet together. You have 4, 5, and 6 still left to do on here. And then in the book, your practice is on page 775, page 775, and you need to do A through R. Now, it sounds like a lot, but they're going to go pretty quick, especially J through R. Those are the ones like this where all you do is move the decimal over. You do not have to write this part out. You can just write an answer for me, and we're good with that because it's something you do. It says to do it mentally. So you're just going to think about how many spots do I need to move that decimal over to the left, and write the answer with a decimal, move that many places over, okay? All right, let me know if you have any questions, and happy decimaling, if that's a word. All right, see ya, bye.